About 1 o'clock on Tuesday now, October the 8th, 2019, back at the Dixie Classic Fair in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This is the day that I head out and start on my way to Indiana. But before I go, I had to try another shark kebab at the same booth I did on the first week I started my vlog. You see the second item down right there with the cartoon shark that's for some reason smiling about shark meat being sold on a stick. Second menu item there, shark kebab. But before I chow down on this thing, I'm going to eat this shark meat in front of the infamous baby shark. What do you think of that, baby shark? You want to torture me with your freaking earworm song some more? Yeah, that's what you get.
Dixie Classic. Gina has been struggling for each.
Something else you can get here at the Dixie Classic Fair you can't get at most places, and that is a snaw cone. A snaw cone. Because adding the W is just too much work, and besides, poor literacy is cool. Never seen somebody walking around with a camera that looks like that.
It's a medium format camera. It's a twin lens reflex. It's a film camera.
Last time I was in Chattanooga, I picked up this bookmark from the McKay's used media store out there that I love so much. And if we go down the list, something I noticed last night, on the very bottom, there is Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Which means before I leave Winston-Salem and head off to Indiana, why not come out here to McKay's? This one looks a lot newer. So let us go forth and see the contents of this used media store and see what kind of useless stuff I can waste my money on. It's a cloudy, cool fall day at about 62 degrees outside right now, so I feel pretty safe leaving little buddy in here without putting him in the camper and getting the generator out to run the air conditioner. I mean, I am wearing the insulated vest after all. Movies, books, video games, and music. This is the one we're going after mostly today. Man, this looks more like a second-hand Charles than a McKay's. I still like second-hand Charles though. The more common handheld games down here, the UMDs, Sega, Game Gear, GBA, original Game Boy, DS. What have we got here? But the more rare are over here in the glass. Let's see what we got. What do we have in GBA land? Well, this is more of the aisle I was looking for. Oh, look at this. A 2600 Mini. Oh, what is that, a 9-pin? Yeah, it's a 9-pin controller. Oh, this is some crazy stuff. Oh, there's the bargain bin. Look at this thing. So that's the way to sell your GameCube controllers right there. If it has a wireless receiver, rubber band it down there to the controller. Make sure they stay together. A plug and play for Wrestling Mania Steel Cage challenge. Little plug and play. I want $10 for this thing. As much as I like my plug and plays, I ain't willing to pay no $10 for a wrestling game. And there's of course that Wii U section, which I'm gonna have to scour pretty good to find myself something that I don't already have. So many Wii U Pro controllers. Still $35. Man, And they are so pretty. Just picked this up from a flea market a few days ago. Splatoon, something I do not have yet. I do not have a good copy of Splatoon. Seems to be pretty common nowadays. So it'd be the time to pick it up. Bayonetta 2. I think this one's becoming more collectible because it had the original in there with it. Bonus. Yeah, see, it's got a bonus game in there. The original Bayonetta is included in there. Breath of the Wild. Still up around 40 bucks for that. Doesn't beat the, I think, $8 I paid for it. I've already got this one too. Wow, that one's really come down in price. Monster Hunter 3. Don't have this yet. I'm not really into the Monster Hunter series though. It's about 5:30 now. I'd forgotten about the time warp that happens when I go into places like this. Found myself a nice big bag of treasures. Alright, let's show off the haul. Nestor's right there. I knew you guys were going to ask. As you can hear by the rattle, I went a little bit Atari crazy this time. I went ahead and got Splatoon because I think this is about as low in price as it's going to get, and it's one of the few Nintendo Wii U games that I don't already have. I got Dream Trigger 3D for the 3DS. It's kind of a little hidden gem shooter, very intense according to the reviews. Went ahead and bought a PS3 controller because the one that I have is a little old and it's kind of warped because of the heat from the fire. It still works, but I wanted a new one. For the GBA, I got one called Ripping Friends. Little $4 game, but a lot of the gameplay footage on it looked pretty rad, so I'm going to look forward to playing that one. I've got Extreme Sports on the Game Boy Color, and the gameplay, according to a lot of the reviews, is a little difficult, but I really like the look of the animations on it. And it seemed like a game that once you really invest some time into learning the controls, it'd probably be a lot of fun to play. Went ahead and got Breath of Fire, the original one, because I have the second one. And I didn't really feel right about trying to play the second one without playing the first one first. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go over the Atari games that I got. I got The Adventures of Tron, and this one was published in 1982, so I was 1 year old when this was published. A lot of good gameplay there. It's one of the few movie tie-ins that actually turned out really good. Kool-Aid Man is kind of a, I don't know, there's been a ton of reviews on this online. For some reason, the reviewers are just obsessed with that game, but it still looks kind of fun. Lock and Chase, which is a Pac-Man ripoff that does not have the power pellets. And I think there's parts of the maze that get locked off. I think that's why it's called Lock and Chase, so it's got a few extra mechanics in there. Venture, this is kind of a maze-running adventure game. You're supposed to be a barbarian that fights monsters and whatnot, but they show up as little blips. Armored Battle, which is a exclusively two-player game, and it's similar to Combat, but unlike Combat, where you don't actually destroy the opponent's tanks, this one you can actually destroy them. But it has the same kind of top-down gameplay where you move through obstacles and you can bounce the projectiles off of different things and get strategic like that. It's a lot of fun with more than one person. It has to be more than one person. And then I got Warp Lock. Warp Lock is a game that is played with the paddle. It's played with the paddle, and you shoot upwards at attacking enemies that come down. So similar to Space Invaders, but not quite as intense as Space Invaders. Still, an Atari game which you can play with the paddles is always fun to have a good variety of those kinds of games. I do not like that they put the label right, the pricing tag right on the label. That's something us gamers just, we hate it when you guys do that. You resellers, please don't do that. I'm very gingerly trying to peel that off without losing any of this already very aged label. Oh, I hate when they do. Oh, okay, I managed to get it. Dang it, see? See on the back of that? See that? That's part of the label that came off with the adhesive. So now I'm missing part of the picture right there because they wanted to put their pricing label right on the... Don't do that. Don't do that. Hate that. Then we got video chess, and this one was only 25 cents. But I've played a lot of video game chess before. I'm not real good at it, but I'm wondering, did the Atari 2600 actually have enough intelligence to pose a good challenge? Well, for me, it's not not very hard to defeat someone like me, but I'm still curious. So there you go. That's all the that's all of the treasures I's got today. Whenever I finish a big job like the Dixie Classic Fair, I like to do something to reward myself. You know, I like to get out there and spend some of the money I earned on my hobby, video games and video game collecting. All right, onward.